But did you know Lee Harvey Oswald?
I had known Lee Harvey Oswald prior to that, yes.
How'd you know him?
I knew him from earlier operation that we was on with David Phillips when I was running semi-automatic 45 caliber submachine guns down to Clinton, Louisiana. David Atlee Phillips, he introduced me to Lee Harvey Oswald. And upon doing this, he also explained to me that he was Lee Harvey Oswald's controller, the same as he was mine. That he was always in contact with Lee Harvey Oswald.
So that's how you know that that's where the word came for Oswald to come meet you in Dallas.
So that, through common sense, tells me the only one that could have sent Lee Harvey Oswald to me was David Atlee Phillips.
So did you and Lee Oswald drive around Dallas, son?
We drove around Dallas. Lee Harvey Oswald and I, we drove around Dallas up till right before the assassination. I did not see Lee Harvey Oswald on the morning of the assassination. But prior to that, Lee Harvey Oswald had been with me every day.
Do you think Lee Harvey Oswald fired any shots that day?
Lee Harvey Oswald never fired a shot.
Well, can you tell me about the death of J.D. Tippit?
When it comes to J.D. Tippit, they say that Lee Harvey Oswald was the one that shot him. It's not true. The party that shot J.D. Tippit was someone else that had been brought in. I'm not sure where he came from. I didn't even know this party was on location. But after that, I'm already back at the hotel. When the party comes up, somebody knocks on my door. I picked up my .45, walked over the door, pulled a little curtain back. I kind of look out the door to see who's there. And I see this party standing there that I recognize that I know. And I open the door and my neighbor says, "What the hell are you doing here?" He said, "I had to stop by, I got a problem." I said, "You got a problem?" And I'm looking at him, you know. I'm still trying to register. How does he even know I'm here? Nobody knows I'm here. You know, this is getting to be a habit. Like everybody knows Jimmy's in town. And he said, "I had to burn a cop." And I said, "Well, you done what you had to do." He said, "I missed Oswald." And I said, "Well, what are you doing here? You burn a cop." He said, "You going to take this and get rid of it?" I said, "Hell no, that's yours. You take it and get rid of it. You just shot a cop. I don't want his weapon. Don't you get rid of it. That's yours." As soon as he walked out that door, I closed the door and pulled the curtain back. Yeah, I don't want to know anybody. I don't want to know anything whatsoever at this stage of the game.
You're not naming.
I don't know if we will ever know how many shooters there were. My investigation shows that Johnny Roselli was there, Chuck Nicoletti was there, James Fowles was there.
And he wrote this out, as you can see by the handwriting, with great difficulty. It's a little hard to read some of it, but at the top here we have the initials LBJ, which of course was a vice president at the time. Below this we have Cord Meyer, who was a CIA officer. Below that we have named David Morales, who was also a CIA, I don't know if he was official CIA, but I'm certainly heard his name before in relation to contract work that he did with the CIA. I think he was a pretty serious guy, a guy capable of doing just about anything. And to the right, the next name is Bill Harvey, who was a very flamboyant CIA man, carried around a couple pistols in his belt at all times, was a heavy drinker. And below at the bottom it says French gunman Grassy Knoll.
I mean, you've said now that David Phillips apparently met with Oswald in Mexico City before the assassination. You've said that Bill Harvey may very well have recruited a French or Corsican gunman to shoot. And you've also said that Cord Meyer had a motive in that his wife was having an affair with John F. Kennedy.
Kennedy was upsetting some of the most powerful and violent forces in this country. The CIA that he threatened to splinter into 1,000 pieces, the Mafia, which he and his brother were attacking, and we now know, of course, that all of these groups were working with each other, particularly in the secret war against Castro. So it wouldn't have been a big thing to simply take their assassination teams and send them to Dallas. Now, why would they want to get rid of Kennedy? Well, he was going against a lot of the programs that they were all for. For example, it's my opinion he would have never allowed ground combat units in Vietnam. And he even told close friends that after the election he was going to withdraw U.S. troops from Vietnam. That would have curtailed a lot of the profit for the military-industrial complex. He also threatened to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. In other words, disband the CIA. He also was working through his Treasury Secretary to curtail the power of the Federal Reserve System. In fact, in June of 1963, he issued $6 billion in United States notes. Money issued through the U.S. Treasury, not through the Federal Reserve System, which is headed by a bunch of international bankers. I think the two fundamental points about the Kennedy assassination are, number one, who had the ability to strip him of normal security. In fact, when Fourth Army Intelligence called up the Secret Service, called up higher-ups and said, we're prepared to send a bunch of plainclothes agents to provide additional security, they were told to stand down.
It is now apparent that there were several teams or groups of assassins that were involved in the conspiracy. In 2007, Edward Howard Hunt, who was a CIA officer involved in the Watergate scandal administered through Nixon, gave a deathbed confession to his son, St. John Hunt. He described the operation named to be the Big One, and named several agents who were involved, including David Morales, who was thought to have been the dark man in the 6th-story window and in the station wagon driving away with Oswald. Let's call this team number 1. The second team, known and admitting to being there, would be the Three Tramps. This famous photograph depicts 3 men found inside a boxcar on the tracks, up on the bridge of Dealey Plaza. Originally, one of them was thought to be Hunt, but another CIA-involved mafia hitman, Chauncey Holt, admitted to being one of the Three Tramps. His associates, Charles Rogers, and the father of the famous actor Woody Harrelson, who is said to be the one who supplied all of the members of the operation with their fake identity cards, as found on Oswald upon his arrest. Although Harrelson denied his involvement until his death, even James Files identified him as being there. In this famous photograph, the 3 men seem to be casually walking away with police. Upon further inspection, we notice the emblem of the Ku Klux Klan on the sleeve of this police officer. Earl Warren, who was in charge of the Warren Commission, was a former Klan leader in Bakersfield, California, as well as many other Freemasons involved with the conspiracy.
In the confusion following the assassination, the police arrested a dozen suspects in and around Dealey Plaza. All were later released. 3 of those taken into custody were discovered in the marshalling yards close to the book depository, hiding in a railroad boxcar which was about to leave the area. No official record exists of who they were or what they were doing, yet their arrest was widely photographed by the press. They have become known as the Three Tramps.
It was determined in late 1970s and early 1980s that one of the 3 tramps, the taller of the 3, bore a striking resemblance to a man by the name of Charles V. Harrelson, who was convicted of killing a federal judge in San Antonio, Texas. A man who claims to have killed at least 5 people previously, has been tried for some of those, and a man who has all of the right connections.
Charles Harrelson is one of America's most notorious criminals. He's currently serving a life sentence for murder in a maximum security jail.
On November 22nd, 1963, I was with a friend at 12:30 in the afternoon having lunch at a restaurant in Houston, Texas. It wouldn't be the first time I've been accused of being somewhere I wasn't, and it probably won't be the last. But no, I did not kill John Kennedy.
He's connected to organized crime figures, the Dallas Underworld, Santos Trafficante, Carlos Marcello, R.D. Matthews, considered the strong-arm man in Dallas in 1963, and Ruby claimed that he was his best friend. So you have all of these connections, and though they don't say specifically, hey, Charles Harrelson is guilty of participating in the murder of the President Kennedy, but there is significant evidence that would make, I think, any investigator want to look at Mr. Harrelson very, very closely.
That is a photograph of one of 3 so-called tramps who were apprehended and then mysteriously disappeared on the day of the Kennedy assassination. And the fellow was, I'm told, at one time positively identified as myself, which is ludicrous if you look at the man. I was 25 the day Kennedy was assassinated, and I would say that gentleman is probably in his mid to late 30s at the very least. But the facial structures isn't even close.
You said you'd killed President Kennedy.
At the same time I said I had killed the judge, I said I had killed Kennedy, which might give you an idea as to the state of my mind at the time. But that was in an effort to elongate my life. This judge was killed. I believe, I told you earlier, I didn't know who killed him, and I don't specifically know who killed him, but I believe I know who's responsible for his death. I believe the same people who killed Lee Chagra killed the judge. I believe that corrupt members of an agency of the federal government killed the judge.
The DEA?
The DEA. I believe they killed him. Well, do you believe Lee Harvey Oswald killed President Kennedy? We'll get back to that. Alone, without any aid from a rogue agency of the U.S. government, or at least a portion of that agency. I believe you're very naive if you do. I believe that Judge Wood, though he was trying to nail Lee Chagra, according to reports, I believe he also understood somewhere along the line that he was dealing not with Lee Chagra, but that the drugs smuggled into this country and distributed in this country are furnished primarily by the United States government, paid for with taxpayers' money. There's no question about that.
Then you have individuals such as Chauncey Howitt, who received a letter from Peter Licavelli to come to the Grace Ranch and pick up Lips, another mob associate out of Cleveland or Detroit, and also Chucky, who was Chuck Nicoletti. Chauncey Howitt stated that he drove both of these individuals to Dallas and arrived approximately late night of the 21st or early morning of the 22nd.
And we were told that we had to be in Dallas on the night of November 21st. We stopped off in Tucson at Pete Licavoli's ranch, and Charlie Nicoletti and Leo Masuri indicated that they wanted to make the drive with us, and we would all alternate in the driving so we could drive straight through. We didn't arrive in Dallas until early the following morning, on the morning of the 22nd, for the simple reason that we had some car trouble, we hit bad weather. Several individuals have been wrongly accused of having been the tramps. Possibly some of them deserve to be accused of that or something else. And I specifically referred to someone like Frank Sturgis, who incidentally ran afoul of the law for something else and ended up in prison. Howard Hunt, that was falsely identified as the person that I claimed to be. You see, there's a lot of mystery surrounding the assassination. I felt that my information is from a point of view that would probably, if I am believed, it would lay to rest these ideas that Jack Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald were just nuts that passed in the night, and that I always felt a sympathy for Oswald, and I just don't feel it's right that he would be, or his children should be stuck with that stigmatism, that's all.
People say Jack Ruby was never there, but he was there before the motorcade got there. I know that for a fact. And even though I didn't know Jack Ruby, but I was as close to him as I was you in the coffee shop, but I never spoke to him. I was never introduced to him. Never said a word to Jack Ruby. But I was that close. I'm looking at the back side of him, and I'm pretty sure that was him. Diaz was there. I believe his name was Tony. Tony Diaz is what I know him as. Richard Kane, he was on scene. He was in the crowd. He had been there early. He was leaving. He was walking like away. Philip Valorizo, I know he was there that day. Where he went, I have no idea. But there were several people I saw.
How about Frank Sturgis?
Frank Sturgis, he was there.
How did you know Frank Sturgis?
I knew Frank Sturgis from the Bay of Pigs and from the SAO. I also knew Orlando Bosch. He was on scene. Orlando Bosch. I don't know if you're familiar with his name or not, but he was also president.